indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing. As the legislative authority in Asheville, we impact the lives of families, businesses, and schools with a weighty responsibility. We believe it is wholly appropriate to petition for help from a higher authority in the discussion, reflection, and dispensing of our duties as council members. Moment of silence. May be seated. Roll call real quick. Chaz?
Present.
Robert?
Present.
Randy?
Present.
Bolton?
Here.
And Dave and Matt are both excused. I need a motion to approve the minutes at the 7th meeting, regular session.
So moved. Second.
Second. Vote.
Yes.
We have some guests who want to speak. Roger, Nikki, want to come up and talk?
My name is Nikki Appleby. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the Southwood Rental family. Today we come out of a place of frustration when trying to work with the Water Department administration. After meeting with our attorney, we were advised to discuss our concerns with the Village Council as our next step in hopes of gaining clarity and resolution. We are not experts concerning the Village of Asheville's infrastructure. We have tried to rely on the administration and staff to give us accurate information. After recent conversations, we are losing trust in the information we are receiving. We feel like we are running in circles trying to figure out what truly needs to be done and what should be the Village Water Department's responsibility. Our frustration currently involves the water meters at our 161 West Main Street apartment complex. We have 7 buildings with 3 residents in each building. In 1984, 2 of those buildings were purchased by my parents, and in 1988, the other 5. Back in time, in 2011, my dad tried to move all of the meters from underneath the building, which is where they currently are, to the extent of having a plumber lined up. But at the time, Franklin Chrisman, who was the village administrator, squashed the project. A meeting was requested last summer on June 25th, 2024, at 10 a.m. to discuss the water meters. Tricia wasn't available to be in the meeting. Unfortunately, dates were not offered to reschedule. Tricia, myself, and my parents are the owners of the buildings. She is the one person who owns 4 of the 7 buildings. A meeting that would have accommodated all of the owners should have been scheduled, but unfortunately it wasn't. At that time of the meeting, my dad, myself, my husband Scott, Bert, and Jim Bob met. We were told that the meters needed to be moved out of the crawl space because the employees couldn't go into the crawl space anymore without special training. We've since learned that a course could be taken by the employees to be able to go into the crawl space. We've offered to pay the $70 for the special training, and we're told no. We've also asked if there's been an ordinance passed that is required this change, and as of today, we still haven't received that information. We received a letter from Jim Bob in the mail in late fall of 2024 saying that we had to decide by December 31st of 2024 as to the action we were going to take with the meters. My dad asked for a diagram of what needs to be done. As of today, we still have not received that. A recent discussion that I had via email with Bert, it was advised that the meters be placed inside the closet of each apartment. This was concerning pit meters being installed by the curb. We were concerned about that idea because how are you going to enforce shutting off the water if you have to knock on residents' doors and ask to enter their apartment? That seems like a potential putting your staff in danger. Or maybe even having to obtain a court order like we would have to if we evicted someone. Because the village wants us to move the meters, our attorney advised that the village would need to pay for this expense because it's their equipment. Bert may say that we're going to put the pit meters, where we're going to put the pit meters, but our attorney is telling us that because it's an established property, that is not something that the village can tell us that it has to go into the apartment. We've been asked to provide the type of material, size, and condition of the water lines going back to our buildings. The reason we needed to find out the material and size and the condition of the pipes was that the EPA requirements of the apartment complex, according to Bert. We asked to see the document of what is required and still haven't seen anything. If if in fact the village thinks this needs to be redone, then the village should need to pay for that. Our apartments were built in the late 70s and early 80s. The EPA was established in 1970, which means the pipe should be okay. Because we were told that that was why we needed to find out what kind of material what kind of material and size and condition of the pipes. Our attorney has advised us that this also is something the village needs to address and pay for if there are questions or concerns. We don't mind if the village needs to make upgrades. We were happy to work with you guys. However, it isn't at the village expense. We feel like it's work that's being shoved down our throats with no clear direction. How are other landlords or individuals with pre-existing buildings or homes being held responsible for the same requirements we're being asked? We have been asked to have permanent easements drawn up to give the water department access to the property. When I called the Pickaway County Recorder's office and discussed this with our attorney, we were told that that's something the village should do and pay for. We are happy to grant easements, that's not a problem at all. Just let us know if we need to sign off on something. Bert has advised that the water line placement may be in recent documents, or we advised him that it could be in recent documents that Ethel Klein drew up when she paid to have the entrance of our development moved. We know that there is a 5-foot on either side to get the equipment through, and that was a note. Meters being changed have been another area of frustration and expense. On September 28th, 2022, our tenants received letters that meters were being replaced and an appointment needed to be scheduled with NECO. None of the landlords received the letters, only the tenants. So I had a tenant like a day or two before we could schedule to have that done, let me know, and so I called and got most of mine done. Tricia did not have that advantage, and so she was told that she could not, she would have to pay to have hers done. And so that is what she was doing. She was advised that the water change out was on her to get done because she didn't get it done by NECO per Jim Bob. We feel like we've been in this like hamster wheel. We're trying to work with the village. My dad tried to, get the meters moved out of underneath the apartments in 2011 when it was cheaper, and when he still owned all the buildings. And now, 2025, it's coming at us like this is something we have to do right now. We don't understand like where this is coming from. We have emails that have gone back and forth asking for documentation of why this is happening. And we're not getting anything but being told what is our plan to get this done. So we're just coming today because we're frustrated with what to do.
Anything?
You want me to reply to that? The deal, when we met
Let me
with,
give some history of it.
go ahead.
So, and I'm glad that they're here today. What started all this, the history of this was in 2010. We started changing meters out at these apartment complexes. Now, even though we've always done it the same way, that doesn't mean that necessarily we're allowed to do that now. And that's a confined space entry rule that we have no control of. That's a higher revised code rule with confined entry. Every one of these spots meet confined entry. In 2010, Dave Ballard crawled underneath there to change a meter out. And because of the way you have to crawl in there and crawl around the building, get up, you got a nail through the back of his head. And after that, I made a decision. I said, we will not send our employees underneath. Well, number one, I'm not allowed to legally send them into a confined space entry. You have to have 2 egresses. There's equipment that has to be involved, training. It's more than just a $70 training. So that was in 2010. In 2011, she's 100% correct. Franklin stopped what me and Roger had already worked out, and we was going to move all the meters outside. And that, for whatever reason, got stopped. And that has no, if it was up to me, it would have went forward, but it didn't. All the other landlords complied. Tim Green, Chuck Toole, Ken Starkey. I can go through the whole list. 800 Long Street, they have egress in and out. 99 Miller, 200 Miller, we was just there today and we shut the entire complex down because they had a leak from one of their apartments. What's the name over on Jefferson? Phil Stewart, he complied. They moved the meters to the outside wall and they put an access panel. I have pictures and photos of all the work that was done with all the other departments or apartments. And this is the only one that has not finished. And that's kind of the history of it. We still have meters that have not been read since 2010 at this apartment. We cannot get access to them to read it. We cannot rely on the landlord to crawl under there and give us a reading. We can't change the meter out if it's broke. If it's leaking, we cannot change the meter out. We can't shut it down. We have this is a private water system that we have no authority on.
And there's no easements on any of the property that allows us to go, and the lines are not ours, they're theirs. There's no easements and the lines have never been dedicated to the village. We do not have the right to go in there and work on private property while everybody else out here that has apartments and everything else is paying people to go in and do their work. If there's water lines on there, and sewer lines, there needs to be easements on, and they need to be dedicated to the village. Then they become the village's property. And the thing I told her about not wanting ownership of it, I don't know if they're lead-contained lines in the ground, I don't know what they are. We have to meet a certain standard, and until I know what's in there, I can't take those lines on as part of the village infrastructure.
So I just want to say, I mean, when you're saying that everybody else has complied, the first time we had a meeting was last summer. So you're saying it like,
They complied well before that.
but last summer was the first time that you had a meeting with me.
That's correct.
So when you say
That's
it
right.
like that sounds like we did not do something
No.
that the village wants us to do. So I don't appreciate the word comply
No.
because that sounds like we didn't do what you wanted us to do. So,
Yours is unique because Franklin stopped and did not allow me to do any more work on that property.
so we did comply because
No, you did not.
We tried
we
to
tried
comply.
to comply is what I'm saying. I don't
That's
want to,
when
I don't
you-
want to get into
Yeah.
verbiage with you because.
Sure.
But what I'm just saying is, what you're saying is that everybody else has moved their meters
That's
out. I'm saying we have offered, I told Bert, my dad has already talked to someone about moving and putting them in pit meters, and then that wasn't okay.
That is okay.
That is.
That's
okay.
not what your email said.
It is okay, but it's $600 a pit. I'm trying to save you money and tell you to build a box inside a closet, put them in a house. There's still a curb box outside where we can shut water off in the individual houses. That's a given. But we still have, and at that point, if it's your infrastructure and you give us permission to go in there to turn water on and off, that's still your infrastructure and you'll take care of it and maintain it, and that's all we need. I didn't say you couldn't.
So is everybody else having to give you like their infrastructure?
If we have water lines that run anywhere, we have 25-foot easements all the way back to Novellis. There's a 25-foot easement over top of that water line because that's our water line.
The distillery apartments, we own, we have easements.
All
and
through there,
the same
and it's
way.
there, and they have a master meter, but we still have sanitary easements all
I
through
mean,
that property.
that's what I was assuming you would already have with ours too.
There was never any put, and I've called the county and tried to find it, because you said that you thought there might be. I called down there, I can't find anything. I've looked through their website, I've called them, and there's nothing been recorded.
We also have had our engineer do all the research into easements, and we have none.
I know you have to go down after a certain date, only certain ones are on,
Before 1980.
yeah, are
Yeah.
online, and then before
Correct.
that, you have to go down and
Correct.
they'll work with you. on that.
I think from my standpoint, and Nikki hit it all home with what she was saying, but from my standpoint, we have worked together on getting meters changed out, and we have documents where I've paid Mr. and Mrs. Plummer
Yep.
thousands of dollars to get new meters put in. I can see them on my phone app and have been able to monitor them that way, but yet they're saying that they're still not accurate. However, when I had an issue, probably under the JKL building,
I can tell you when it is.
I had Mr. and Mrs. Plummer come out, because they were the plumbers that I typically use, and he came over to get a new meter, because the meter had busted. And he was told that the only way you could give him a meter is if the meter was moved outside of the building, and that if we didn't want to move it outside, then we had to pay for the meter, when the meters are supposed to be given to us.
I don't know what he told you. I did tell him that I did give him a meter because my boss at the time told me to.
He never had a meter.
I'm telling you, he picked up meters from us.
He picked up meters
Right.
several years ago,
Right.
but this was within the past 12 months.
Okay,
I mean, nobody's gonna go over under there and look, but I can guarantee you, apartment K is directly hooked into Asheville water with no meter.
well, this is where we're at.
Yet they're
And-
still getting a bill that's not being read.
That's correct.
So if I can come up, I'd be happy to pass these out to you. These are the email documents, the invoices for the different things that we paid for.
Again, this is all the private property. This is none of this is our responsibility on that property, none of it. The meter is they're actually a meter, but none of the lines, I will not do go in there and repair any leaks that leak out in the yard. I'm not doing it, I didn't do it at 200 East, or 200 Miller today. I'm not gonna do it at 800 Long or any of these others, they're in the same situation.
And you'll see that I paid multiple thousands of dollars last year to have a leak repaired from in between apartment N and O.
So what's it take to solve the problem?
We wanna put a master meter in up at the curb and let them bill their tenants individually.
No.
We wanna put a master meter that goes back in there. They have meters that they can, as she said, she can read from her phone. She can bill her tenants individually for the water. And then we don't have to worry about the infrastructure, and everything inside that fence or anything inside that compound is theirs. We don't, and then that master meter, they'll have to put a backflow device in it, so it doesn't, that has to be something they do. But that's the easiest way to solve this.
Does that go where the fire hydrant is?
It'll go up in that area, yeah. We'll have to have an easement or something put up in that area where we can put a master meter in, and that's gonna be the easiest way to fix all this. And then they can bill their tenants accordingly, and we can always just go down the road, and then whenever something breaks back there, they'll have to fix it. Which is kind of a little bit how it works now. I mean, I don't think you've ever had a water line break other than a meter under a house or something, but,
They had one out in the yard in 2023.
okay, that was before I started, so.
That's the one that I paid
And that's
to
the one
repair.
that ran for 7 months.
And that's a lot of water loss, and if it doesn't cost anybody at that point other than the village, then the village is the only one out. I mean, I don't know how much water leaked out of it in 7 months, but I'm sure it's quite substantial. We've seen 56,000 gallons go in one day, right? Or, yeah, a day and a half or
We
whatever.
don't know that really, because the water meter broke, and then there was another old one put on.
Well, we didn't read the old one, we read the one that was broke, so you're right, all the water that broke through it, or because it froze and it broke, the bottom broke out, it didn't read it all. The readings that was on it was what was short from the readings that hadn't been captured because nobody had read it in so long. I mean, we didn't capture the water to come out there, we just captured what was behind on.
I mean,
Bill.
so what, the other part of the frustration is just, it feels like none of our meters are being read from what you're saying. But
No,
we
there's-
have a lot of,
there's
we
several.
have quite
You
a
have-
few
you
that
have
have
several
the
of
code
the
did
newer
change,
ones.
yeah. But I don't think that even the ones that are changed are, I don't know.
I will say, I think one of my buildings did get 3 new meters. They actually made the call to Nico. The other 2, we had worked with you, that's when Mr. and Mrs. Plummer came up, you gave them the meters, and they charged me to install all of the meters because I missed the 2-week window that Nico was here. But since that time, in one of the buildings that did get fully changed out, last year I had a tenant that moved out, and he left me with a $700 water bill on a meter that was never read up until that January. When I came in here to talk to somebody, I was told for the past 18 months that when their bill was $24 for 18 months, every single month, that it wasn't read and they were playing catch up. That's not the fault of the tenant. And that meter is a new meter under it. So
They-
again,
They
I
used
paid
to have
again.
some really bad practices to let water bills get up to $2,000 and $3,000 here, and that don't happen anymore.
That one's
You
not
hit
one
the
of them.
second month, it's getting shut off.
It was $24, 8 for 18 months. I went back through the online system and looked.
I think the bottom line is that there's just been a lot of, like, we wanna, I think everybody knows our family. We try to work with everybody, but it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like there's been like a demand and a deadline versus My
The deadline was last October, you were supposed to have all those meters fixed.
But
That
you
didn't
never
happen.
met with me.
No, you didn't give us a date when you met.
This is the first time I ever talked to you, I just talked to Rob
Right,
and
but
Nick.
I'm the owner of 4 of the buildings.
In
And I didn't realize yours wasn't all replaced. So-
the summer,
Mine aren't, mine are.
Okay, then why would I need to meet with you to change out meters?
Because you want to move from out under the building.
If you're willing to take the responsibility of being in there and they're master metered up at the front and all the water that's lost because of the stuff freezing and breaking and problems that's happening, I'm not interested in taking over a system that I don't have any idea what's in the ground. You could have that pipe, you could have that surge lines, I don't know the answers to that. And all I asked for was information regarding this stuff. Because right now, I guarantee you, if I go in there to change it out, it's gonna cost me between $200,000 and $400,000 to tear it out and change it. And if it doesn't meet compliance and it doesn't fall in line with EPA, I have to do that. I don't
but you
have
were
a
telling me that
choice.
the reason why is because the date they was probably built, and then I told you that they weren't built until late 70s or late 80s.
That didn't go out of lines until 1988. That's when I don't know if your lines are ductile, I don't know if they're plastic, I don't know if they're Schedule 40, SDR 9 or 900, I don't know what they are.
I don't know either, but when we met last summer, there was no date of any type.
We
It
talked
wasn't
about
until-
having it done by the fall, and that was kind of in October, and it was, I didn't write anything down, but that's,
Right.
you know,
I
this
don't
conversation
remember-
we had, and then
I
it
don't
didn't
remember a
happen.
date being,
Letter that came from Jim Bob said needed to know by the end of the year. And so I walked over to the brick building at the water plant and told him the last week in the year that wanted to do pit meters. And I wanted a diagram of how all the connections were supposed to be. I still have not yet received.
If you want to do pit meters, that's totally up to you. The problem still is, I don't have legal access to come in there and do work. Without easements or ownership of the lines, it's not ours.
But
It
that's
belongs, it's a private system.
I get that that's part of the problem, but that hasn't seemed to be the whole problem all the way along. And to be quite honest, from my standpoint only, I have paid personally thousands of dollars in work that the village should be taking care of.
And I never received any letter saying
100%, yes.
GH and I, that the meters were gonna be replaced by the company that was doing it. You know, all the bills come to my house for my units,
Right.
so I don't know why the letters didn't come to my house for the units too.
So you distribute your bills to your
We all
tenants?
do,
we all do.
Okay.
but none
I
of us
didn't know.
got the letters.
Mhm.
You know, It's hard for us to be in conformity if we're not getting the information.
So are you willing to put easements over all the water and sewer lines and give them to the village?
Yeah, I mean, we're willing to do easements.
We
But
keep-
according to our attorney, that's something.
We're
the
not, we
village
don't
would-
pay for any easements. We have never paid for an easement. The developers all put easements on their properties and over the water and sewer lines and then gift them to the village. That's how that all works.
Billy paid for the sewer line that went in 89 or 90, the deep sewer line that goes up Lexington Avenue and came through our complex. We didn't, you know, that was a village project.
So you-
And how they put it in and then put easements on it, I can't answer that.
I
I
mean,
can't.
I have the paperwork on the easement,
On that,
on the sewer line.
there is an easement on that. So all the thing you'd need would be over the water lines, down the streets and over the water lines. Or 25 foot, so there's room in there to go in there
So
and
you're
dig
saying
stuff
down
up.
Scioto Street? Is that what you're saying?
No,
the
down, well, you said
Where?
Lexington, I'm back in there still, I'm sorry. I'm back at 161 West Main.
That's where we're at too, that's the buildings we're
We just said
discussing.
Lexington.
Well, he's just saying it started at Lexington and ran down through our development, our complex.
So is that the force main or?
that was well before I was even here, so I have no idea.
That was a sewer line that went in,
In
and then
90?
came up and came down Station Street, eliminated the lift station on Maple Street, goes down, picks up Serval Avenue.
If you guys are willing to grant easements and stuff over the lines, first of all, I want to know what they are. I want to know what material they're composed of. If they're lead, I don't want them. I don't want to be rude. I don't want them.
Everything
How
that-
can you say that though?
How can I say that?
Yeah,
Because I don't want to spend $500,000 of taxpayer dollars to repair something that's not ours.
right, but you want us to do this stuff, yet you're not willing to work. That's the
No,
push
what I
and pull we're
said was,
seeing.
tell me what the material of the lines are. and we'll determine if we want them. If they're lead-based lines, I don't want them.
They're copper lines. You guys just
The,
dug
the,
into
the
it.
main line in the ground, what is it, what is it? Is it plastic, is it ductile, is it lead-based? I don't know the answer to that. The water line services all your properties. How big is it? Do I have to have, if I take that line over, I have to have a fire hydrant back in there. That's a $7,000.
There's
There is
fire
one.
There's a
hydrant.
fire
All the way in the back?
All the way in the back. There's gotta be 300
There's
feet.
one right when you
with-
first, there's two right when you first come in.
Yeah, but like, if it's more than 300 feet to your back,
Right.
I have to have one within 300 feet.
Okay.
I'm,
We're gonna have to try to work this out
Somewhere else.
outside of the public meeting, because we've got other things we need to do, but I understand Roger and you guys' frustration. Can we need to get moving on this, and regardless of what it takes, and see if, you know, get it taken care of. 'Cause,
Yeah, I mean, we could sit here and argue all night long, but it's not
I
gonna
know,
hurt
we've got,
back and forth, but.
but the only thing is I never heard your answer to the master meter.
Yeah, but then that's putting the burden on us to have to read all the meters.
Well,
But that's how it is with all the other apartment complexes. 800 Long Street, they do the same thing. Distillery Apartments, I mean, I can go through every one of the apartments, they're all the same like that.
Yeah, but those all been built recently, and
I mean, the 800 Long Street was 20-some years ago. So it's not recent at all. And they did the same thing. We have easements going all the way back to where the master meter is. Same deal though. I don't go in, they had a leak back behind one of their buildings. I'm not gonna go in and repair that. That's all private property. That is not ours.
so Jefferson Square has an easement from Jefferson Avenue in?
For Phil Stewart's, yes. We have an easement where that pit meter is. And then after that, we don't do anything after that pit meter. That's where the property line ends. Or the easement ends.
Well, the whole situation, as far as I'm concerned, could have been solved back in 2010, 2011,
I don't disagree with that at all.
when I wanted to put.
And I have a copy of the letter that Franklin ex-made. I mean, if you guys want copies of all this, I have all this. I have every conversation, phone conversation, email, I have all that in here.
And I mean,
And I
also,
can't change what he did or didn't do, or why he didn't do, he's not here. But what I'm saying is, we cannot go into a confined space entry anymore. We can't.
well, I understand that, I understand. But I think what we need to do, we have a utility committee, it's Chad, Hope, and Matt. We can set a committee meeting up as soon as we can, so you can come in and discuss it with them, because they're the ones that are, will work with Bert in order to try and help
Do you
us
mind
solve
if I
the
pass
problem.
these out?
We appreciate your time and listening to us.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll get a hold of you, we'll set a meeting up.
Okay, thank you.
I need a motion for an executive session. Somebody will do it for information with the commissioners.
I move we go to an executive session for information with the commissioners.
You need to read the whole
is that specific enough?
revised code.
Oh, okay. To consider confidential information related to the marketing plans, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance, or to negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance.
Second. Vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Back to order, does council wish to take any action on the executive session? All right, departmental reports.
We have our portable radios in, looking like 4 to 6 weeks before we get those programmed. We can get our firearms issued out to everybody, so we should be qualified on those here soon, hopefully by June. and we're going Wednesday to pick up the new cruiser in Pennsylvania. That's all we can do.
Say that again?
We're going Wednesday to pick up the new cruiser over in Pennsylvania.
The Pennsylvania.
Pickup,
No, we got to pick up the Explorer.
so I said, I thought we got a pickup.
When does that get?
They're telling me the pickup should be done by the middle of June,
Okay.
so it should be ready by the 4th of July.
That pickup?
Yep.
Jim Bob.
The only thing I have is the water tower on 752 is green. They're coming in Thursday, start working on that one. They're gonna be painting it inside out, cleaning it, putting in the mixer and the logo. So, that's where we're at. That's really the latest on that.
How long does that take?
He said there'll be a week, maybe 2 at the most.
And then to fill it back up?
To fill it up, we fill it in a couple days.
Okay.
And I'll have Joe, I'm tied in with him, so I'll have him help us fill it.
Which tower is that?
752.
Okay, thanks.
We have one resolution for first reading, need a motion for 04/2025 for gas aggregation.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Yeah.
04/2025, a resolution approving and accepting a new plan of operation and governance for natural gas aggregation and declaring an emergency.
Can I have that tonight, please?
With that,
Can I have that tonight? Waive the second and third reading. Never mind, we
You
can't.
can't do that. Not enough people.
Never mind.
Plus the guy does that all the time.
What's the new plan here? Is that with the company?
They just got a new gas supplier, and they had to change it to the PUCO, so you have to go through all this for them to do that.
Okay, so we don't know the rates or anything like that?
The rates haven't changed, they just got a new supplier. The rates that they were offering haven't changed, this is just a new supplier of gas to, what's that company's name?
Okay, but
Whoever the gas aggregation company is.
do we know what the rate is for CCO? How do we know that it's competitive with Columbia Gas now, which is 72?
Well, they weren't competitive last year, they were
Well, that's my,
quite a bit higher.
I don't understand why we're doing an aggregation if we're not saving people money or giving them opportunity.
Because natural gas is traded on the stock market, and it can go up and down, and this is supposed to be a guaranteed number. That's what I get out of it, I don't understand it all
We
completely.
took a lot of heat over the last one. Granted, people didn't realize that the rate was lower for a term, and then Columbia or whoever dropped theirs below, and they want the best of two worlds. And
You can drop out at any time, from what I
I
understand.
just, yeah, okay.
You can go back and forth.
And this is not a new agreement, it's just the supplier change rate.
Right.
And we'll have to approve it. Does the supplier change in the rate?
I guess.
Yeah, they have to have legislation to present to the PUCO stating that it's okay to do that. I went back and forth with our attorney, and he went back and forth with I can't remember the guy's name, but just to try to figure out what they wanted. It was really convoluted as to the reasoning, and that's what it boiled down to.
Well, the last one we were dealing with got into, I was under the impression that we could contact the supplier and cancel out of it. And reading this thing, there's a 2-year, you have to be in it or you're gonna pay a penalty. And I didn't understand the last one to be that. So is this something individually that we would negotiate?
Yeah, it's all done individually.
So the agreement that we got apparently is not the final one. I'm just questioning because if people don't like it, we were under the impression they could get out of it at any time. The reason I'm understanding this, there's a 2-year requirement.
I'll read it over and I'll get hold of the attorney and see if that's what it says.
Okay.
I didn't think there was any change to the original, or to the agreement, or the way things worked. I just thought it was a change in their supplier of gas.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I understood it to be.
Motion to approve first reading.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Who?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
New business, a 6119 water and sewer district for South Bloomfield and Harrison County.
That is, I'm going to be asking for $20,000 to put in, basically not a joint account, but for legal fees in order to create a 6119 water and sewer district, which will go from Asheville's village limits, South Bloomfield's village limits, and go all the way up to Duval Road. What's going to stop is when the JED moratorium is over from City of Columbus, just running to your doorstep. That's all we're trying to stop. If we put a water sewer district in that area, the township's on board with it, both villages feel it's a really good idea just to basically keep Earnhardt Hill water and JED sewer and water all in the JED and not let it progress south. That's what we're trying to do. Trying to stop, let the townships be something other than a layer of government on paper. Because if they get, once they start rolling, you know how fast Columbus will be here. Like he said, $350 million in infrastructure is nothing to them. But for us, this is just a start, and this is a long-going process. It's not something that's going to happen in the next 2 years. It takes a while to get this stuff set up. There's a lot of mapping. There's a lot of boards and stuff that need set up and stuff on it. But it'll basically be Harrison Township, north of St. Paul Road, will basically be its own water and sewer district, but they'll get supplies from South Bloomfield and Asheville. So we'll still have an outlet for income for our utility projects and stuff, and it'll protect that area up there from being taken over by City of Columbus, basically.
So what do you need?
$20,000 is, we're gonna put $50,000 in a pot, Bloomfield's putting 20, we're gonna put 20, South Bloom, or the township's gonna put 10. And it's basically, this is for lawyer fees and to get this thing started and get it in front of the courts, because it's gotta go to the courts and be presented to the courts before we even say we can do it. There has to be a resolution done up in order to do it.
So we're rolling nothing tonight?
No, it's not, I'm just kind of filling you guys in on what's coming. We didn't get the resolution back from Brian in time, so this is what's coming down the road. And that's kind of what it is, and if you want to talk about it privately or you know, if you have questions, we can get into all that, but that's what it's about.
Any committee reports?
Just the parks are meeting May the 6th.
Do you have anything else? April?
No, I have nothing.
The loan for the infrastructure.
That starts this weekend. And we had some incidents out at the ball fields with home plate being taken and stuff like that. But we got all that straightened up with the person who took it out, so. Any final comments from council? Chad?
No.
Maybe next meeting, we have an executive session to talk about our strategy with this personnel issue that we're dealing with.
Okay. Anything? Copeland?
Move we adjourn.
Wait. There should be something in front of you, Jim Bob needed to approach council.
Oh, yeah, Jim Butler. I didn't see it.
Just real quick, I wanted to, Kat works with the, she helps us out with the food truck, and we're getting ready to finalize our map for the festival. We're going to be in the park this year, as you know. I just wanted to see if council had any issues, or if there's any questions or anything before we move on. This is for the food truck festival. That's all I'm doing. Is there any questions about it, or issues, or is there anything you want to know, or before we finalize some things?
Good luck.
So you putting your food trucks, how you configure them?
They're going to be in the grass around the inside of the track, on the one side of the track.
Okay, so, we're keeping that blacktop open for the, in
Yes.
case kids be running around or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like a winner.
Move adjourned.
Second.
Yes, folks.
Yep.